Congratulations, you have made it to the end of this section of videos, and it is now time for a knowledge review. A knowledge review, you may ask? You probably think that what I'm about to do is just review everything we talked about in the last 6 or 7 videos. You are mistaken. Instead, we are going to have you test your knowledge by applying yourself. That is right. We're going to have you do a little work. Basically, in knowledge reviews, what are going to happen is we're going to present anywhere from 1 to several problems. After we present a problem, we are going to ask you to pause the video and then attempt to solve the problem. If you get stuck, or if you solve the problem, come back, hit play. If you're stuck, you'll be able to see how we did it, and hopefully that will help clear things up. And then, of course, we ask that you go back and try it again, because at that point you have the answer, and it shouldn't be a problem. And if you did indeed solve it, then what we want you to do is just make sure that the way you did it is similar to the way we did it. So that's pretty much how knowledge reviews work. Now, what is the knowledge review going to cover this time? Well, we went over creating a very simple application. We looked at one in the anatomy of a simple program video, and we also looked at creating the same one again in the Visual Studio 2005 Express IDE video. Now, we want you guys to create a very, very simple application based on what we showed you. So let's have a little bit of fun with this. What I'm going to do is come in here and put my focus there, and let's just turn these on so that I can do a little bit of drawing. All right. We're going to have you write a little program. The class is going to be called Android. So here's some notes that you may be interested in writing. So let me go ahead and make sure that my brush is set. So the class name is going to be Android. Now, all you're going to be doing is creating a series of methods. Each of these methods are going to contain very specific functionality internally. All the functionality is going to be is a console.writeLine, and it's just going to write out to the console what that functionality should be. So what we're going to do is basically we're creating our own Android. And this Android needs to be able to blend in the real world. So it needs to be able to do things like brush its teeth, watch TV, do stuff, you know. And then, of course, there'll be a couple Android-like things, such as activate and deactivate. So here are the methods that you're going to create. It needs to. So again, these are the methods. It needs to be able to eat. What do you think, Logan? Should I make it even easier for them by doing that?
Sure, just to reinforce that those are methods.
It needs to be able to activate. I'll go ahead and don't ask what I was doing. I'm going to come in here and erase this, and we're going to put a capital there. I'm going to really clean all this up. So it needs to be able to eat. This is in no particular order. It needs to be able to brush its teeth. It needs to be able to do stuff. It needs to be able to watch TV, because you got to have an Android that watches TV. It needs to be able to, let's see, become evil.
Because it's an Android, you know that's going to happen.
That's a fact. It needs to be able to deactivate. All right, there we go. This is the stuff that our Android will need to be able to do. The methods, the actions, okay? Inside of each of these methods, all we're looking for is you to put in a simple console.writeLine and be creative. Here's some examples that we have. For the Android, activating, it needs to say Android has activated. For deactivate, it needs to say something like Android has deactivated. For do stuff, Logan's got Android wanders around pretending to be busy. For brushing teeth, it's got Android brushes its teeth. For watch TV, he's got Android sits down to watch TV. For eat, he's got Android begins to eat food. And become evil, he's got Android grabs a knife and chases you. That's definitely evil. Now, once you have all of these methods, don't forget, you must have an entry point into your application. That means you're going to have a main method, aren't you? That's right. So let's just kind of separate this here. In the main method, I want calls to these methods. Arrange them in such a way that you can have a little bit of fun. You know, activate your robot, then have it eat, then maybe brush its teeth, do some stuff, watch TV, do some stuff again, because that's the beauty of a method. We can keep calling the method over and over. So we could say, you know, activate, watch TV, eat, watch TV, brush teeth, watch TV. As we can see, this Android has a problem, doesn't it? It loves to watch TV. But go all the way through its life cycle and take it to deactivate at the end. Just have a little bit of fun with it. That's what we're looking for. Logan, is there anything you want to add into that before I have them pause this video?
No, I think that covers what it needs to do, and then it'll be up to them to come up with the specifics of implementing that.
So again, in your main method, it's going to be nothing more than a bunch of calls to all of these different methods. And again, like I said, reuse some of the methods just to make it interesting. All right, so with that, what I'm going to do is come in here and we'll hide these things. And let's just come over here and we'll do pause now. So what I want you to do is pause now. Hopefully they hit pause. We're giving them a few seconds just so that they can hit pause. Now, of course, if they're back, they're just listening to us talk, but that's okay. And we're back. Congratulations. All right. If you haven't paused the video yet, please do so now and do the assignment. It's good for you if you are a complete beginner to this. We're going to help you master it. So, Logan, let's go ahead and code this out. Let's see how you would have handled creating this simple application.
Okay. First, let's bring Visual Studio up. Then let's create a new project. So we'll go to File, we'll grab a new project, and I'm going to make this an empty project to follow what we had done for our simple anatomy of a program apps.
Okay.
And we can leave this one as project 1. I'm not going to be too specific on how I need the project itself named. I just want to get one up and running.
Okay.
So we have a project. Now we need to add a source code file to the project. So we'll right click on project 1, we'll go over to add, we'll add a new item, and we'll add a code file to our project. Let's name this code file Android, because that's what we're building, an Android.
Sounds good.
Android looks good. We'll add that, and here is our source file opened. Now we need to do a few things. We of course need that Android class, but before we even get as far as that, I know we're going to be using console to write things out, because that's what we were saying in the specification.
Right.
So I'm going to put down a using, say that we're using system, just so that I don't have to address system every time I want to write to the console.
Okay.
Now that we have that, I'll begin our class. We use class, and then we'll call this Android. And while we're at it, we'll block in the class. Now the first thing that we can put together is, let's go ahead and get our entry point in, and then we'll write in all the methods and then put all the methods to use within main.
Okay.
So let's start a static, because we have to have one known main entry point to the program. We're not going to return anything, just keep it simple, so it will be void, and the entry point will be called main. And we'll block that in. Now, before I get any further, I do want this console app to hold at this point when we're done, well, so that the program doesn't just flash and then disappear. So while we're within main, I'll put down a console.readLine, like so. And the reason I've coded it in this order is so that I can, from this point, do a compile and test and make sure that we do, in fact, have the program working.
Beautiful.
So we've got our entry point defined, and we have the behavior such that once it's finished outputting, it will stop so that we have a chance to read the output. Alright, now we need to put together the rest of the functionality for an Android. So let's begin on all of the Android's methods. Let's start with the activate method. Now, because we want to call all of these methods from within main, which is static, all of the methods themselves also have to be static. So let's start with activate. We'll have a static void activate. Now, what is activate going to do? Now, it's like all the other methods, simply going to write out some text telling what it does. So we'll grab console.writeLine, and we'll write out something like Android has activated. And terminator. And that looks good. I'll build by hitting F6 just to make sure I haven't introduced any syntax errors.
And you could even test it real quick if you wanted to. Right before our read line, you could introduce a simple call to activate, just to make sure that our Android is going to activate.
Just so we can test incrementally as we're building this. So, sure, we could say activate. Android has activated, and now we're waiting.
Very nice.
So we can move on to the rest of the methods. And I'm going to begin by copying this method so I don't have to type out all of it.
Now, just as a reminder, right before you did that paste, we had two methods, the main and the activate method. This looked just like the Hello World one that we did earlier, except we just changed some of the verbiage around.
This was Hello World, and this was say hello.
But now what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a bunch of methods. So we're just following the same thing we showed you earlier.
Okay. And like I was saying, to avoid typing a lot of stuff, since these methods are similar, they all write text to the console. I've copied activate, so I'm going to paste it in, and we'll change this to deactivate.
Okay.
So, deactivate, Android has
deactivated. All right.
All right. Since I still have that activate method copied, I could paste it in again, and we could write in the do stuff method. So, static void do stuff, where the Android does things like...
Android wanders around pretending to be busy.
to be busy. Alright.
Alright. Paste again. This time it'll be brush teeth.
Brush teeth. So Android...
brushes its teeth. Never saw that coming.
It's... teeth. Spelled with a T.
Heath. Alright, very good. Next one, he's going to watch a little TV.
Alright, static void, watch TV. Android
sits down to watch TV.
To watch TV.
Okay. Next one, well, we need to feed him, so let's have him eat.
Alright, static void, eat. And Android
begins to eat food.
To eat food.
And one final one, he's got to become evil.
So, become evil. And what happens when an android becomes evil?
Android grabs a knife and chases you.
This is you.
Alright, so now that we have all of this in place, let's just go back up to main and simply make calls to each of these methods and have our Android do something. So let's start by, we've already got him activating. Let's go and have him eat. Gets up, he wants to eat. Alright, if we run this just to test it as we go along, you can see that Android has activated. Android begins to eat. So you can see that after we get done calling each of these methods, we return right back and continue from inside of main.
So already we've got a kind of dangerous Android if the first thing it does is begin to eat.
Alright, let's go ahead and close that. So let's go ahead and have him brush his teeth now, because he just got finished eating. And you'll notice brush teeth shows up in IntelliSense. All of these methods will now show up. Okay, and then he's going to, I don't know, do some stuff.
Do stuff. We could have IntelliSense finish that off by simply hitting a parenthesis.
Okay, and then we'll watch a little TV.
Watch TV.
Alright, and then here what we'll do is maybe do some more stuff.
Do stuff again.
Alright, let's test that real quick. Alright, so he's activated, begins to eat, brushes his teeth, feeling a little bit better. He wanders around pretending to be busy. Then he sits down to watch TV, and then he wanders around pretending to be busy again because his TV show is over. Oh, very good. So I guess it's time for him to become evil because he's getting bored.
Time for the Android to become evil.
Okay. And then after becoming evil, there's nothing better than wandering around pretending to be busy so that nobody realized it was actually the Android that was evil.
Alright, let's have the Android do stuff again.
Okay. And at this point, maybe we'll have him watch TV and then deactivate.
Alright, so he'll wander around, watch some more TV, and then that's
deactivate. He's had a full day. All right, let's go ahead and execute the application. And the CLR handles executing it for us. Android has activated. Android begins to eat food. Android brushes its teeth. Android wanders around pretending to be busy. Android sits down to watch TV. Again, the Android wanders around pretending to be busy. The Android then grabs a knife and chases you because he went out of his mind. The Android then wanders around pretending to be busy. The Android sits down to watch TV, and then the Android finally deactivates. Beautiful. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for our first knowledge review. Hopefully you were able to come up with this code on your own. If you didn't, don't worry. It takes a little bit of practice. If you're completely new to programming, try it again. Take the specification that we gave here at the beginning and change it over to something different. Change it over to a bunch of animals in a zoo, all in methods. And then have yourself in main walk to each of the animals visiting it, and the monkey's going to say something or do something to you. Just have a little bit of fun with it. Just get comfortable working with the symbols, the opening and closing curly braces and parentheses, and don't forget your terminators at the end of each line, and also don't forget C# is case sensitive. So that's going to wrap up this knowledge review. Thank you very much.